Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs, home of the Stripology Ruler. The Dangerous Block of the Month was inspired by my love for scraps and in particular using them up and making something beautiful. Also, I love listening to mystery books when I sew. So let's dive into this block of the month. Block 7 is dedicated to the amazing Stephanie Plum, who is a bounty hunter with very interesting family members and friends, and they always get into some serious trouble together, but her ingenuity in chasing people down is really entertaining and fun to read. She is, of course, the creation of Janet Ivanovich, and this series has so far 31 novels. Make sure you have your pattern all printed out and ready before we start. With the cutting, if you're using a single background, follow the information up here. If you're cutting from scraps down here, make sure you label all your background pieces with the letters going from A through H. And then your colored fabrics are going to have numbers assigned to them based on the sizes, which is very nice. So make sure you number them to stay organized. I got all of mine cut, and here are all of my cut pieces, organized and labeled with stickers and clipped together with my organizing clips. So let's get started with step number 1. We're going to be using the 1.5 inch by 7 inch background rectangles D and sewing them on each side of a fabric A number 1 rectangle, and then from there we're going to sew the fabric A number 2 rectangles to each side, which are 2 by 7 inches. So there I have my strip set, and once we have this one, we're gonna subcut those units into 1.5 inch wide. So once you have them subcut, you're gonna end up with this. You're gonna need 4 from each, 4 from the strip set. So staying in step 1, we're making a second strip set using the 13 inch long strips from fabric B, number 5 rectangles, and then the background will need the 1.5 by 13 rectangle E, and then 2 by 13 rectangles G. Make sure you follow the pressing. It's important for both strip sets. This one, we're actually gonna cut into 1.5 inch increments as well. So this is the size you need, but we need 8 out of the strip set, which means that was the reason why that was longer. So from here, we are just gonna take these two from step 1, these 2 different units, and sew the first one between 2 of the second ones. All of these seams should nest nicely. So make sure you follow the pressing towards the center unit. So moving on into step number 3, you're going to be making 4 of these. Step number 3 is one more strip set, which is a long one, the 18 inch one. We're sewing the 1.5 by 18 inch background F to each side of a 1.5 by 18 fabric A. Rectangle number 3. So this is going to match that center unit that we just sewed. So from there, you're going to subcut these into 2 inch wide units. So I'm going to set these aside. This is going to be your centers. And then from here, you are going to take, moving into the next step, I'm going to take these and sew the 2 inch fabric D squares, number 7, to each end of these. So you're going to end up with 2 identical with the same fabric here. And then you're going to repeat that with fabrics F, H, and J. So you should have 2 of each, 4 different colors for those outer squares. And you're pressing towards the squares. So this is all going to come together. Bringing this into the full block in step 5. So we take these units we just assembled here, and then we're going to add these guys to the outside. So sewing these 2 seams, we're going to press outwards, and that is your big block. You are going to repeat that and make 4 different colorways of that block. So we have 4 of those. All right, so then we're just moving into our setting units, finishing this up, and then you have to make sure you know which fabric is supposed to be where. We're going to take the 1.5 by 3.5 inch rectangles number 6 from fabric C, E, G, and I, and sew them together, 2 and 2. And then we are just going to take the background rectangles, moving into step number 7, 2 inch by 2.5 inch background rectangles, and sewing that to each side, pressing these guys towards the center. So once we have that, I actually think it's easier and better to explain this when we have the layout of our blocks all planned out. So we are going to be having the 4 blocks that you finished. You're going to have those, let me see, I'm going to put my red here in the top corner. And then I'm going to put this brown one and my gray one. Actually, it's going to go over here. Green, gray, whatever color that is. Oops. So a little harder here with not sewn together. And I have this one here. So I think it's easier to figure this out. So obviously you have to make sure you are sewing the right colors together if you're trying to follow the color arrangement here. So here I have my red, which I want to connect with my red. I have my brown, which I want to connect with my brown. So this piece fits right in between here. And here it's the same thing. I have my purple and I have my green. So just look twice and then before you sew, because it can be pretty confusing. Then I actually did assemble that center strip in step 8. That is going to come out and fit right here. So you can really see if the colors are matching. So this color here should be the same on this side. And then same thing here. So then when we get into the last step of the block, obviously it's all written out here, which is just the outer kind of border, but we have to match the colors. So what I would recommend to you is really plan it out, lay out those rectangles. So for example, this rectangle, I know this needs to be up here. So before you sew them together, you can lay these rectangles all in their spots all the way around before you add the background pieces. So then they are going to fit and be all in the same place. We're going to do the strips with the shorter backgrounds on the ends first, and they get sewn to the unit first. And then we finish with the sides. And again, making sure it all is matching up. That is probably the trickiest part of sewing this block, is just making sure that you're putting the right fabrics in the right place. But it's also satisfying when we get them all together. You have this circle of the same color on all sides. And then we just assemble. First we assemble the inner pieces, these guys, and these 3, and then sew that to the center strip. And then we add the top and bottom, press, and the outer and press. So that completes your block number 7, Stephanie Plum.